Well, our next guest is warning of media dishonesty and the negative impact that it can have on all of us. In a column, he writes that the mainstream media got it wrong on the Wuhan lab story, turned a blind eye to the revelations on Hunter Biden's laptop, and gave a pass to CNN and Chris Cuomo, who had a severe conflict of interest when it came to reporting on his brother, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Joining us now to discuss is attorney and former federal prosecutor John O'Connor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Heather. Hi, Bob.
So I think a lot of our viewers would perhaps agree with you on this when it comes to the mainstream media and the possible damage that they are doing. Out of that list that you gave, what do you think is the most egregious?
Well, it's hard to pick, but let's look at it this way. We are now talking about, especially with this Russian hack, whatever it might be, the very real possibility that there might be some bioweapons used or being developed in China. But let's put that aside. Let's just talk about how terribly awful this pandemic has been. And yet, because of partisanship, the media cannot even report honestly about the possibility that there may have been a lab leak. That affects everyone in the country, not Democrats, not Republicans, but all of us. And yet there has been abject dishonesty. The notion that the lab leak theory was debunked, that was put forward by the media, the mainstream media, was just not true. And as a matter of fact, the opposite was true, that at least circumstantially, this has always looked like it came from the Wuhan lab. There was never any indication or proof that it came from a natural cause. That was never able to be hooked up, but yet circumstantially, it certainly looked like it came from the lab. So that might be the worst thing when you look at this. Now, we also elected a president, Joe Biden, when the media was quashing the Hunter Biden laptop story, and yet 9% of his voters said that they would have reconsidered the vote had they known about the laptop. Now, what that is, it's a fundamental problem with our democracy when information that should be put before the court of public opinion is suppressed. It's suppression of information. This is just, it's a nightmare. It's like a totalitarian country. We just elected a president when information was suppressed. So that's pretty bad too. So that gets to the heart of our democracy. The lie about the lab leak or the suppression of that gets to our public safety.
Yeah.
And of course, then we get into matters of national security too.
Well, which are important, of course. But John, what would you do to fix this? I mean, even if everything you're saying is absolutely correct, how do you go about changing it?
Well, number one, I would start a network called Newsmax, and I would try to compete with the dishonest major media. And that is why, and I'm not being patronizing here in the least, we need you and others like you to convey information the way our founding fathers intended. When they talked about the First Amendment, they thought that was supposed to be the cure for factionalism. And as James Madison said, factionalism is as natural as oxygen is to fire. It is going to, liberty will cause factionalism. The cure for factionalism is a free and fair press, which we haven't had. The voters can sort things out if you give them enough information, but they have to know both sides of this thing. Mm-hmm. So now here we have Chris Cuomo advising his brother as to how to deal with the media. That's a real independent press, is it? Is that right? We are having a major network advise a major political figure on how to downplay sexual harassment. That, to me, is sickening. As the father of two daughters who are out there in the workplace.
Yes, I understand. John O'Connor, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, John.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.